we've had a bit of a break, and we're back in the room again, and we're ready to start working. Let me share with you a bit about how what you've described in the room sounds to someone on the side. In other words, let me tell you what I'm hearing here. I'm hearing here that we have two people who live in very close quarters, like modern-day apartment buildings often do to us. They throw us together with other people, often not people we chose. We didn't make a big plan 20 years ago to spend the rest of our lives together. And they bring us into close quarters with one another, and they form this kind of interdependence. What starts off in my territory winds up in the other person's territory, and it all goes back and forth. And the same is true for the two of you, and it's true for your neighbors. And what we're actually trying to figure out here is this kind of separation between my own private territory and what I can do and what I can expect in my own private territory, as opposed to what is the point where what I do affects my neighbor, and what is the point at which what my neighbor does affects me, and at what point do we have to start taking that into consideration and showing concern for one another. So we have a clash here between two things that I think are very humanly intuitive for both of you. One is this concern with yourselves and wanting to enjoy your quality of life just as best as you can, and the other, this general understanding or acknowledgement that yeah, we live in a place in close quarters, and we have to take others into account. The question is, how much of this can we expect? How much do we have to give, and how much do we have to get? And I think that's what this conversation is in essence about. Does that kind of seem to strike a chord with? Well, I think it does. And it sounds to me that if we were to break down what we need to talk to into specific issues, so what I might suggest is that we talk about at least the following issues. Okay, one is, well, the issue of noise, which you both presented as a problem, something that's disturbing your quality of life. And maybe try and figure out a way for you to enjoy a good, quiet, peaceful quality of life, or as best as you can, while still, maintaining your enjoyment from whatever it is that goes on inside your own apartment. I know that's a tricky balance, but maybe we could figure out a way to do that. The second thing is the topic of public spaces. How what I do in the public spaces of an apartment building affects my neighbor, and whether that's okay or not okay. On the one side, a public space is my space just as much as it's anyone else's, and on the other hand, a public space is also a place that is public. And what are kind of the accepted boundaries of that? And if you could come to some agreement about the accepted boundaries, then we could move forward on those topics. And finally, and this is something I'm going to suggest because it seemed to be very obvious from what happened between the two of you, is in general the topic of communication between the two of you. I mean, look, from what you've told me, neither of you are planning to move out of these apartments, and you're going to be together for a while, and between you and me, you don't want to come down and spend time with me every other week to try and solve a problem. So I hear that there was an incident and a breakdown in your communication capabilities, and maybe one of the things we can do here is to kind of reinforce the degree to which the two of you are able to work things out by yourself. Really, in order to improve the way you live your lives through joint planning, through joint conversations, through problem solving, so that when things do concern either of you, you're able to bring it to the other person and reach a solution on your own. So does that make sense, those three topics? And if it does, then I'll put them up on the board, and maybe one or both of you would like to suggest or agree which of those we'll deal with first. Okay? Sound like a plan?